Peace to you and yours wherever you may be. I love you continually for free. And I've been seeing some videos being put up about this whole Cain situation. Can't say Alvarez. About the Cain situation. Velasquez. And most of the ones that I see are people really like pushing the mob mentality. And I got a couple comments from folks who didn't like, my original video on this. Felt like I was being disrespectful to Cain. And I just think those folks are really like a bundle of emotions. And I want to tell you, you guys are being sold, man. There's a bunch of people out there who will stroke your emotions. But you got to look at things from the proper perspective. And really and truly, if you respect this brother, and you don't want to be disrespectful to him and disrespectful to his family, disrespectful to the situation that he's in, then you got to do better, man. You got to stop watching these videos from the people who that they're gonna make a video saying, "Oh, it's completely reasonable what he did, and I would do the same thing." And it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter whether or not you feel like it is reasonable or not. Especially now. What matters now is what is he facing? What is his family facing? What is that child facing? And that child is facing growing up without their parent. Just so you can beat your chest and talk about what you would have done. And that is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. The shitstorm right now is saying that not Cain, but the shitstorm is saying that the judge has received death threats or some type of threats of physical violence. And and so they want to put protections on the judge. That's what this environment is creating. People calling or threatening the judge. How is that helping Cain? You're going to push the shitstorm into making an example out of Cain. I guarantee you, everybody in the legal shitstorm sympathizes with Cain Velasquez. But as I said before, there are 30 million people in the state of California. Easy. And there's no way they're going to go outside of the sentencing guidelines just because. And there's no way that they're gonna say, well, we're gonna throw him a pass because of his celebrity or because of this or because of that. It's not going to happen. But what you will do is push them into making an example out of him and prolong the time that he gets, because they'll come back later and shorten the time on appeal or on resentencing. But all of that is a process. And you're going to lengthen the process. Cain's best bet is to prove his insanity at the time of the incident. And even now, maybe he is still mentally and emotionally affected by this issue to the point that he is not himself. That is his best chance, just straight up. Not responsible because he was insane. Otherwise, If he tries to go in there with the defense that no jury will convict me for doing what any father will do, if he tries to go in there with that, he's relying on the fact that that jury is going to nullify itself, that they will refuse to convict him, and that California will not be able to retry him because of double jeopardy. Now that could happen, but it's not likely. It's not likely to happen. But if he decides that that's what he wants to do, I got nothing but respect for the brother. You know, roll it like you want to roll it. But that child is home right now without daddy. So while you beating your chest and being tough on the internet, talking about what you would do, I want you to think about that baby and what's going through their mind at night, knowing that daddy is in jail. It's not a grown person. You know, that is, you know, my understanding is that the child was 4 years old. I don't know the actual age of the child. But think about the mental and emotional capacity of a 4-year-old, of a 6-year-old, of a 10-year-old. You know, this daddy business, this parent business, this ain't no one incident deal. I didn't get these grays in my face by osmosis. I raised mine. And I've been married a long time. And I got the credentials to speak on what I'm speaking on. Alhamdulillah, thank God, I never had to deal with what that brother is dealing with. But life did not afford him the opportunity to do what he did in a way where the law would protect him. Life did not afford him that opportunity. And so now, if he gets 20 years, 25 years, even 15 years, he ain't going to be able to raise that child. He ain't going to be there when that child is going through all the different stages. And I'm not going to elaborate on all the different stages. If you've grown, you should know what they are. When having mama and daddy at home with you in your life and affecting you on a daily basis is necessary to help you make good choices and to affect your self-esteem. So when you stop caring, or when you die, or when the whole world stops caring, they're gonna still be in that problem. There was a guy by the name of Gary Plauché. If you want to look him up, I could be mispronouncing his name, but it's probably either Ploche or Plauché, and it's Plauche. And back in the 80s or in the 90s in Louisiana, his son was molested by a karate instructor, and the karate instructor left the state with his son and was arrested in California. And I guess the man waived extradition, and he admitted not only to that crime but also to the crime that, you know, that he had molested other young people. And when he came back to the Baton Rouge airport, Plauché was waiting on him and shot him in the face or in the head with one single shot. And he was arrested, and he eventually, I believe, pled guilty to a type of manslaughter. And other than the time that he spent from the initial arrest leading up to the trial or whatever it was, he never spent another day in jail, and that's because of the sentencing guidelines. You got to understand the sentencing guidelines is what allows the judge to have discretion. They can't act outside of that. And they also can't send the message that you can take things into your own hands. In California, if you are exercising your Second Amendment constitutional rights to bear arms, and you got a gun in your vehicle and it's loaded and you're stopped, other than jail time, you can also receive a $7,000 fine. No victim. Nobody was hurt. There was no intention to hurt anybody. But you could get up to a $7,000 fine plus jail time. But if you molest a child, you can get jail time and a $5,000 fine. If you violate the most vulnerable segment of our society, you get a $5,000 fine. If you're minding your own business and maintaining your constitutional right to bear arms, you get a $7,000 fine. That's California. This is the sentencing guidelines. So some of y'all need to grow up and understand this ain't about you and your little emotional self wanting to rant and rave and this, that, and that. This man's life is hanging in the balance right now. And we have to be respectful of the situation and say, hey, how can I best help this brother? How can I send the right type of vibes out there? How can I give the state a way to help the brother? It's not about whether or not you sympathize with him. Time and place are against him. It's not the 80s or the 90s in Louisiana with a totally different mindset back then, a totally different type of legal system between the two states. The man is facing life in prison, and that child is going to feel it's my fault. And that ain't right. But they're going to feel that way. That's going to press on that baby's heart. All them nights when they sleeping in the bed and daddy not in the house with them. And none of us get to be there with them either. None of us get to be there to give them that support. So, you guys that's making these YouTube videos out here, y'all need to watch your mouth. And you folks that's acting off of it, getting pumped up, getting souped up about this, y'all need to watch your mouth too. Big up.